Welcome to the Investor Financing Podcast, where we interview real estate investors and lenders so you can learn all the secrets to getting your projects funded and scale your portfolio. Learn about fix and flip loans, BRRRR financing, rental, fix to rent, commercial, multifamily bridge loans, business loans, and so much more. And now, your host, Beau Eckstein.
Today with Ethan on the line, we're going to kind of dive deep in some strategies on things that, you know, people that are watching can use, right? Like how you can get maybe more deal flow, finding motivated sellers if you're buying houses. Maybe if you need more credibility to raise money for a syndication you're doing, right? You need branding, you need a website, you need content to provide these people. And so today I think is a great topic because we haven't really talked about this yet on our show. So Ethan, why don't you give a little bit of your background and then we'll kind of dive in from there.
Sure, sounds good. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Oh yeah, just fine. Very clear. Perfect. Yes.
All right. So yeah, Beau, thanks for inviting me. And Vinny, it's great to meet you. I appreciate being here. Like Beau said, I do social media ads specifically. That's my specialty. But I'm also dabbling a little bit with SEO and SEM to round out the whole digital marketing scene. I have experience at an agency, worked there and have done work in over 10 different industries. And it's really interesting when you work at an agency. I like to tell people 1 month is like 1 year there because you're just exposed to so many different things, so many different industries, different people, different budgets, different issues that you really grow and learn a lot. And like Beau said, I'm an aspiring investor, so I wanted to carry that skill set over into the real estate world and be able to transition that and kind of bring myself into that realm and provide value for other people. And yeah, Beau and I just met while networking and started talking, and he was giving me some insight into some ideas he had, and I was like, hey, I might be able to help you. Here's what I do. And now that kind of sparked the fire to get going and be an entrepreneur in myself. So now I'm actually doing this, like Beau said, I'm working with him, but I'm also working on starting my own digital marketing agency specifically for real estate. I feel like it's not necessarily served, and agents, investors, things like that, they need to worry about what they do best. They need someone who can handle the marketing and the lead generation and take care of that for them. So I want to be that person to help provide that value and give back to the industry and just get in that way.
Love it, Ethan. This is so exciting because I came to this country to do my MBA in marketing, and I've always looked at marketing, now digital marketing, branding, all that. It's never a cost. I want to tell the audience, it is always an investment because Absolutely. The more you are able to put it in, the more revenues will be generated, more leads will be coming, more business will prosper. I really have hard time when people say, oh, I just can't have advertising budget, right? That's not where you should be. You should be actually advertising and getting your brand out there. Thank you for joining us. Actually, it's so ironical that, Beau said at one time, 20 years back, I had 6 virtual assistants working for me all over the globe, right? And my teammates used to say, oh my gosh, how many people are working and all. But that was the best thing. That was the very best thing. You see that when you have so many great freelancers, right, who can be very big specialists in their field, it's hard for us to do everything. Just like you Absolutely. Said, Ethan, we are good in our profession. It's good to really. So let's dig deeper into it. Branding. What do you think branding entails?
Oh man, branding to me, you're creating the identity for your business. Everything from the simple parts, what your colors are going to be, what your logo is, what your slogan may be, to the deeper elements of what is our identity? Who are we? What do we want to be known for? And I always tell people that's the basis of what you're doing when you're creating a social media presence is you're establishing your branding and getting that in front of people and creating some awareness. So if you're putting your logo out there in front of people, you're letting them know your story. You're really emphasizing those points and creating almost like a human element to your brand. Those businesses tend to do a lot better because they're much more relatable.
Yeah.
So I always kind of think of it in terms of like, when I just think about branding, I think of what companies can you think of just by seeing their logo? If you saw the Nike logo, you'd probably recognize it right away. If you're driving down the street and saw a golden M, you'd know exactly what company it is. Yeah. And while with real estate, we may never get to that exact same level of awareness where someone absolutely knows what brand it is right away, by creating that exposure and creating that identity and telling people this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we believe in, it gives them something that they can relate to and makes them much more invested in your company before you even start working together.
Excellent. So what could be in the branding? What should be number one, number two, number three? Let's see, if I'm a new investor, right? And I want to buy multifamily, what would I need to do? I mean, where would I spend my dollars, I guess?
So, yeah, I think there's a two-prong. Let me kind of elaborate on that, what Vinny just said. One is that as a multifamily syndicator, you have to have a credibility type image, because you're going to send somebody with $1 million or $500,000 or $200,000 that's going to put your money in your project, right? So you got to have that, that kind of professional image there, right, for the investor side of it. And so you need that, and I think you also need a kind of like a lead generation site too. They're almost two different things. So how would you like? So you need like, hey, here's my business card, right? Like, this is my website business card. This is the company, the brand, where you might not be able to get as much traffic, and then you have to have like kind of the lead generation site. So how would you kind of like, in your mind, how would you set something up for somebody who's getting started in investing, where a big part of their business is investor management, because it's all about bringing in dollars through passive investors.
Right. I think regardless of where you're starting, whether it's single family residential, whether it's commercial, I think the first thing you need to do is establish your values, establish what you believe in, what types of investing you want to do, who do you want to help, and create that vision for yourself and have that baseline and give yourself a direction. Because if you don't have a direction, you're going to be caught going in so many different areas that you may never get traction. So figuring out who I am, who I want to be, what do I want to do, who do I want to work with, gives you a baseline for, okay, this is the direction to go. These are the types of people I need to be talking to. And then, Beau, exactly to your point, like you were saying, establishing credibility. Generally, if you're going to be doing something high level, multifamily, where you need to create credibility, you need a look that's very clean, very sophisticated, looks very well thought out. So that's the next thing I would focus on, is making sure I have those elements of my branding in place to show that I've put thought into this. I've trained myself. I have a nice clean image. Because if you think of a lot of like higher end brands, that's what they thrive on, is that very clean look.
So true. So true.
And then from there, what I would do is focus on, if I'm going to do like social media posts or anything like that to get started creating that image, I would do a lot more thought leadership type videos and posts to show my knowledge, to kind of get that out there. So like we were doing with the HUD financing, maybe a quick, hey, here's something that I've learned that I want to pass on to you to create some value, to show that I know what I'm talking about and I can help. We can work together because I have this knowledge, you have that knowledge. Let's pair it up and make a nice relationship that's beneficial for both of us.
Sure.
So Vinny, just to give you some background. So my idea was I did a webinar with Kyle, and I want to educate people, just like you're doing in your senior living right now. Like, hey, this is something you should, if you're an investor and you want to invest in something, look at this asset class, and here's why, right? That's what your webinar is. Same thing with mine. Mine is like, hey, you're a multifamily or you own assisted living. You need to just at least explore and size up a HUD loan every time you're looking at your next project, just to see, does it make sense for what I'm doing? And so what we're doing now is we're running ads, right? So like what I liked with Ethan, he can actually show you a prototype ad. So we're doing like a static ad of like, me with an apartment behind me and like, join the webinar, multifamily. And we also did one where I do like a short video. And then what we do is, what's interesting is it takes like, why I haven't been successful with ads in the past is because it takes time. You have to figure, you start slow and you trickle up and you figure out what's working.
Yeah.
But then it's so sophisticated now, because like when somebody when somebody clicks on my ad and they go to the multifamilyloans.info website, we installed a pixel. And so now we can retarget those people. So everywhere they go, they're going to see my webinar. And then at some point, they're going to watch it because,
I love it.
I'm not selling them anything. I'm just educating them.
Yeah.
And so we're testing that out, and we just started doing it. It's very exciting. And I thought about, like, with what you're doing too, it's very complementary, because at the end of the day, you and I are very good belly to belly with people. I think as an investor, you need to be able to raise money. You got to be Zooming with people. You got to be able to, you talk in front of 100 people at a time, 1,000 people, but you also need a social element where it's working for you, right? Like this is working for me when I'm sleeping. People might click on, opt into my webinar, right? Yeah. And now I have their email and contact information, and I can just send them updates and newsletters on projects I funded, on different loan updates, and that's how, for any like type of real estate investing business, right? It's the same thing that you would do. You're going to educate them. Hey, are you interested in? Are you a doctor, lawyer, high net worth person that's got lots of money, but you don't know what to do with it? Look at assisted living. Here's an educational webinar. And then once they get in your system, it's about following up with them, right? And staying in front of them. And that's kind of what Ethan's helping me with. And I thought, you know, what you and I, our vision is, Vinny, you know, Ethan's, what he's doing is complementary. So I thought, let's get him on the show. Let's dig into it, because anybody who's in any kind of sales business or investing or anything, right? I mean, 90% of it is, well, you got to learn what you're doing, and then you got to execute a marketing plan. So these things are the two biggest pieces of all this, I think. So
you're so right about it, Beau. I mean, you know, every corporation, every business, I always felt that, you know, they have to have an engine. You know, the train can only move out of the station if the marketing is the engine right there. You know, it's the digital marketing, it's the branding, it's the website, it's the lead magnets, it's the squeeze funnels, you know, click funnels, we call it, all those, because we are serving people. And how do we serve people? More and more and more of them to tell our story. So that's very fascinating. That's exactly, every business needs it. Attorneys, doctors, any kind of business you see outside who are interfacing with clients, that's where the revenues come. So by serving them, by serving more of the clients, and that's what this whole thing is about. I mean, and more so now, by the way, when I started 14 years back in multifamily, didn't have a website, Beau, zero website. For 6 years, didn't have a website at all. But it was just one-on-one talking, and, you know, it just did it. No advertising I did, nothing at all, right? Now, the world is different. It's very competitive, and everybody's going after the same prospect. Isn't that right, Ethan? Share with us. I mean, what are some statistics which you could kind of share with our audience? You know, why now it's such a big need for this thing?
Well, so I gave a webinar a little while back on why businesses should be doing social media. Mm-hmm. And I think the statistic, don't quote me on this, might not be perfectly accurate, but 74% of people in the US are on social media. And not only that, go to their Facebook profiles multiple times per day.
Wow.
And with that, companies need to be on there because people are looking to talk to brands now. Yeah. 90% of people who actually have a social media profile have talked to a brand or have reached out to a brand. And that's like one of the quickest ways to get face-to-face with the brand now is to go to their social media profile, send them a private message, send them a direct message.
Yeah.
A lot of companies may not necessarily have remembered the fact that sending people through a phone tree through customer service can be a real pain. And a lot of people like to try to sidestep that by now going to social media and sending that direct message and getting someone to respond. Or not, but that says a lot about a company if they're not active on their social media and they're not responding to their customers right there. So I think it kind of gives the message either way that the consumer is looking for just by reaching out and doing that. But yeah, like you said, it's absolutely essential now. You need to be doing it.
So true. So let me ask about that pixel. I know you brought it up, Beau, right? Can you share with the audience what that means? I know I've seen Google ads following me. If I was looking for my BMW, I remember it was chasing me all everywhere. Rolex watch. I was looking one time. It was all over the place. I said, oh my gosh, how do they know that I'm, looking for those things?
Yeah, it's funny because when people ask me what I do, I used to describe it to be like, those ads that follow you on Facebook that you don't want to see, but you see every time? I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. I do that. But the way it works, so it's a little bit of code that's put onto the website that allows Facebook to get data from users when they get onto a website. So if they come like what Beau and I are doing with the webinar, if someone clicks that link to go to the webinar, they're now added to a separate audience that I create. So anytime someone comes in there, I don't have to do it manually. It's automatic. Anytime you go to that website, they get added to that audience. And then what we can do is create separate ads for that audience. Because what we're doing is, like you talked about with the funnel, we're trying to get people through that funnel and warm them up and get more familiar with our business.
Yes.
Because if I walk up to you and say you wanted that Rolex, and I walk up to you, some random guy in the street, and I'm like, hey, buy this Rolex. You're probably going to have a couple questions, right? Where'd you get that? Is it stolen?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you come up to me? But if I'm a reputable dealer, I've told you about my brand, you've come to me and I've helped you, and then I ask you to buy the Rolex, it makes a much different impression. So that's what the Facebook Pixel is designed to do, is get that information. So then you can create more value for users. And a lot of times businesses will use it by offering a discount to people who have been to the website but maybe haven't purchased. So that's how I like to shop now. If I buy anything online, I go to the website, stay for a few minutes, and then I get off it to see if they'll send me a discount code.
I love
There's
it.
a little life hack for you. But yeah, that's what it's designed to do, is just create an audience that Facebook then gives back to we advertisers to use to try to create more value to our audience. That's the main point, just create value.
I'm so glad you're sharing that. Let me kind of ask you a few questions. And what it is that, see, Facebook has been really, really out there. And LinkedIn used to be a recruiting tool, as we recall, right? But it's become a more of a business tool now and prospecting tool. What would you say about that? Which one is bigger, better, or how one should really spend money in advertising? Can we advertise in LinkedIn too, by the way, or?
Yeah, you can, and YouTube. Before Ethan goes, I just want to just tell a story real quick. So I think there's a few platforms that you must be on for our level of business. Facebook is definitely one of them. LinkedIn is definitely one of them. Instagram is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And YouTube is definitely one of them. Those four are my core four. But
Me too.
Let me just tell you a story real quick before Ethan goes in this. So I think I've had success on Facebook. I've had success on YouTube. I've had success on LinkedIn. Yesterday, or the day before that, I have a tool. I use Sales Navigator, which is a paid where you can actually search. And I'm seeking out people like you, Vinny, that do what you do or similar things in real estate investing space. So I had clicked on a guy's profile, and then anyways, for whatever reason, I didn't connect with him and send him a message. But he then clicked on mine and connected with me. And then I checked him out because I already knew what he did, right? Then I checked out his website a little bit more. And this is a great story. And I said, thanks for connecting. I love what you're doing. I checked out your website. He's basically buying multifamily in Southern California, and they do value add. And so I said, I'd love to I said, I'd love to interview you for my Facebook group because we like to get smart people on, and he has a fund and all this stuff. So he said, hey, why don't you talk to my partner? And then his partner connected with me on LinkedIn. And then we had a phone call yesterday. And they specifically work with banks. And so it's like, hey, we've got our lenders, right? So I'm like, that's cool. I said, it might not be today or tomorrow, but another deal, like if you're up against some shit, I got my friend at $8 million in 15 days. I could do some stuff.
Yeah, me right here.
Yeah, right.
15 days closing. I will tell it till I die. I'm telling you, man.
Okay, let me get to the best part of the story. So then I start going in. Then I just said, let's. I'd like to connect. We're all about connecting people. Like Ethan, if I can connect you with, like, I already know 5 steps ahead that Vinny's has a digital agency. Maybe there's some synergy with you, and maybe there's not. But I already explore things 5 steps ahead, and people don't realize that I'm doing that. But anyway, so I'm talking to this guy, and then I start going, well, he goes, well, we have this piece of land. Okay. And I go, oh, really? He's like, yeah, we're building 50 units ground up. I go, oh, well, have you looked at HUD? He never thought about it. $25 million potential loan from freaking LinkedIn yesterday. Okay.
Look at that.
So the point is that where I failed, and I'm not going to fail anymore, is creating systems. And I told you, we were just talking before you got on, Ethan, about using like Asana to create systems for my virtual assistants to do certain things, like connect with people on LinkedIn, to put together these lists. So I think you gotta segment all these marketing things to be ultra successful, like what we're doing, Ethan, right now. This is a one segment. We're going deep with it. We're gonna test it. We're gonna probably waste a little bit of money in the beginning, but you don't waste. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you're not going to get an immediate action. I know that. Like yesterday, somebody wrote a derogatory comment on one of our ads because, I was just effing around and I shot it in a t-shirt. Maybe I should have been looking more professional, but he ripped on me. He's like, oh, you need to shave and you should go to the Salvation Army. But anyway, that's fine. I don't care. Right. But the power for everybody listening, right? The power for everybody listening. If you really take where you want to go and re-engineer how you can get there. I mean, the value for me to reach out and connect with a guy like I did yesterday, maybe I don't get that deal, maybe I do. But what if I become, a colleague of his, friendly with him, and over the next 10 years, I fund, $50 million in loans for this guy? What does that mean to me? What's the real value? So I think we got to start thinking like that in any kind of business you're doing, and niche down exactly how you can do it. And so this is why we're trying to collaborate with smart people.
So true.
Because I know a lot about it, considering I'm in the real estate space, about social media marketing and stuff, but I'm not an expert, right? But I need to put these experts and get these balls rolling so we can,
So true, Beau. And like I mentioned it to you, in Pune, India, I have had Ramesh, my partner there, and he's got 30 very, very highly talented people. And I don't do nothing. I just get up in the morning. I'm all over the world in all these posts and ads and things and digital, this, that. So all those things are so important for any entrepreneur, any businessman, any CEO. That's so true. People are calling me now, Vinny, I want to put $500,000. I said, wait a minute. How did you find me? This is just all social media presence and the credibility and the interviews and all that. You're right. I'm totally sold on Ethan's work. Ethan, tell us more, man. So, how much you are saying, like budget-wise, where small investors should put in? Can you kind of give us some idea about that? Yeah.
I think we could talk about like our conversation, because I think a lot of people, like, I've had some bad taste in my mouth about past Google pay-per-click things. So, like when Ethan and I were talking, you can get started relatively inexpensive. Like I think we're doing like $30 a day. Yeah. So, but go ahead, Ethan.
Sure, please.
Yeah. So the real estate industry as a whole is more expensive. Beau and I were talking about that, especially with anything on Google Ads, pay-per-click. There's a lot more competition in this industry than a lot of others because it is so lucrative. But if you do look at it as an investment, then it makes a lot more sense, right? Your return is potentially much better than if you're selling e-commerce products for $10, $15.
Yeah.
So even a $30 budget like Beau and I are doing is a pretty sizable budget on Facebook ads to get started. I've seen success with the bottom about $10 a day. 30 is a really good budget. We've already seen some pretty good results on what we're doing in not even a full day yet. We started the ads yesterday at about 1.
Wow.
And by having a $30 budget, we blew through our testing period to get past Facebook's regulations. And now we're actually gathering good data and seeing where we're going. But yeah, it's a matter of what you can do and what your budget is and having someone who knows how to work with it. So because even if you don't have a set monthly budget, you can do boosted posts, which is essentially a mini ad that's not tied to a campaign. It just extends your reach on your post. Like there's more that you can do.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break. Are you looking for funding? Are you getting frustrated trying to find a lender? Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and click the Get Funding button. Complete the simple form and schedule a free phone consultation with one of our placement specialists. We have a proprietary directory of funding partners that can help you get the funding you need. It's fast and easy to explore the options available for your specific needs. Don't wait. Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and get connected.
Than just being restricted by budget.
I love it. Love it. So let me ask you a question. I've heard and I've seen that the ads that are motion, right? Some small clips of videos get a lot more attention than just the static ads, right? That's one thing. Could you also tell our audience, like, how can we focus different segments? And how does this whole thing work? I know Facebook has every information on everything, who we are, what we eat, what we drink, what we buy and all that. So how do you, you can segregate it by cities, by zip codes, kind of give us some knowledge on that, if you would.
Yeah, sure. That's a really good, just kind of like overall strategy question. And to your first point, yes, videos in motion perform exponentially better. I would say about 99% of the time. There is the rare occasion where an image performs better than a video, and that could just be the audience's preference. But even for what Beau and I are doing right now, he recorded a 15-second video, like you said, just sitting in front of a wall, took a quick video, and that is blowing it out of the water compared to the single image ad that we did.
Oh my gosh, Beau, you want to play that, buddy? We want to show the audience what Ethan can do. You and Ethan, yeah. I don't know if you can maybe look for it. We can show that. Yeah, that'll be exciting, Ethan. Okay, so 15 seconds, just that. What does it talk about though? Like, this is who I am? Yeah.
It's a quick 15-second, yes, here's who I am, here's what I'm trying to do for you. I'm trying to create value in this way. And then here's what you need to do. Sign up for this webinar. There's more value in there. And that's it. It doesn't have to be professional quality. It doesn't have to be something you pay someone to do. Like, that's really all it needs to be to get started.
Yeah. So Vinny, for like when I do your when we do a co-hosted webinar on senior housing, assisted living, right? Mm-hmm. If we did give it enough time, what we would do is run ads, and I'd have you do a quick video. Hey, this is Vinny Chopra. Do you know about the silver tsunami coming? Learn why you should be investing in senior living and watch it, something like that. Boom.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm doing it, Ethan. You have some time this afternoon, buddy?
Absolutely. Sign me up.
Awesome. I love it. I had 174 registered for yesterday's webinar. That was my first one.
That's awesome.
And we did on StreamYard, and people are already calling us, emailing us, and so forth. So I'd love to get your opinion into that. Ethan, let's get excited, buddy. Yeah, no, that's exciting. So how do you do it? Can I target the ads in the Bay Area, like in Danville, Silicon Valley, doctors or attorneys? How does it work?
Yes. So there's a lot of different capabilities that you have on Facebook. There's 3 different main types of audience. So there's what's called a saved audience, where you pick interests based off of how people behave on Facebook. So Facebook gathers data on what types of pages do they like, what types of people do they interact with, what content do they consume. And that's one way to do it. You also have the data that comes from the pixel that we talked about.
Yeah.
And any data-based audiences, you can use those as well. If you have a customer list, if you have emails, if you have all these different things that you can do to pull interests and build audiences. One thing to note, when you're working in this industry, because of the anti-discriminatory laws, all those acts, it limits what you can do a little bit with your targeting. So typically, if let's say I were selling iPhone cases or something like that.
Sure.
And they were really designed
I know somebody who's killing in iPhone cases, by the way.
Yeah. And if you have your targeting and you say these are designed for teenage girls from 16 to 18, and you have like very specific targeting, You can't do that with what we're trying to do within the real estate industry, because that can be viewed as discriminating based on age. So you're not able to use age targeting. You're not able to use gender targeting, which most people don't anyways within real estate, but it limits some of those capabilities. So just something to keep in mind. But yes, you can target based on location. So if you're saying, if I'm trying to find motivated sellers in Colorado Springs and I work in this specific zip code, I can use that zip code, or I can set a radius around a specific location to really make sure I'm spending money on the people that I want to be spending money on. Because if I'm just running ads and I don't do that, I may be showing an ad about me trying to buy a house in Colorado Springs to someone in Jacksonville, Florida. And now I just wasted money showing an ad to someone that doesn't mean anything to.
Smart. Very nice. Oh my gosh. So you can actually segregate by professions, what I hear, not the age, not the gender, but by profession or net worth, or maybe income level. Is that true? Like, can we
you can do profession to an extent if someone expresses that on their profile. Some of it's limited to what people put on their profile.
Got it.
But you can do, like, let's say if I'm getting tons of ads for real estate seminars and things like that because I follow a lot of real estate pages. I'm in a lot of real estate investing groups.
Yes.
So my interests and the way that I'm showing how I behave on Facebook, advertisers can use that to target someone who's interested in real estate investing, and I fit the criteria. So it's more so along the lines of that. We can't really do as much with income because of those discriminatory acts, but you can do a lot with interests.
So let me interrupt here because, once you start running and you build your ad account, Vinny, this was something that you could do. And we'll have Ethan talk about this. So like, we could build a lookalike audience based on the investors you have already in your database. And we upload those into Facebook, and then they target people similar in nature to those people. Talk on that, Ethan, a little bit.
Yeah, lookalike audiences are one of the most powerful tools that you have on social media advertising, because with that saved audience we talked about, you're limited to interests, right?
Yeah.
But what a lookalike audience does is it takes data that you have. So like you said, the investors that you already have information on, and it finds you people who are similar and expands your audience. So let's say you have 1,000 investors that you know about, and you say, I love the characteristics of these people. They are high net worth. They are engaged in X, Y, and Z. They're doing what I want them to do. Now I can tell Facebook, by building out this audience, I want you to go find people who are the 1% closest match to the people I'm already talking to.
1% closest.
1%. So it looks at their whole profile, all of their interests, all of their behaviors, what they're expressing, and it finds people as similar as it possibly can to those people.
Will that work if you had just their emails, not their Facebook IDs, do you think? Like, can you actually...
Their first name, last name, and email address, would that do it or no?
It should. You have to build, and Beau, this is why I sent you that yesterday about building the spreadsheet the correct way. Facebook takes a specifically formatted CSV file and uses that to scrape users' profiles, and then look to see this email account is tied to this profile. Now let's look at the interests, let's look at their behaviors and see if they're similar to this person. So that's the tool to get Facebook to go look at those specific profiles and match people up.
I love it, Ethan. Oh my God, you really have gotten me going on this one. Hi there. Hi, Michael. How are you?
All right.
Which is more cost effective, auto placement ads or manual placement ads using Facebook? Thank you, Michael. We'll get some answer from our expert here. Yeah,
that's a great question. And it kind of goes back to, again, what is your purpose? What are you trying to do? But B, also to how Facebook's set up. So they have what's called a campaign budget optimization tool. So basically what it does is it takes the money that you give in your budget and it says, okay, we're going to automatically put money to its best use by giving it to the ads that are performing the best. So Facebook recommends using auto placements, which means anywhere that your ad is formatted for and can run, it will. And then more money is going to go to the specific ads that are performing better. So in the case of what Beau and I are doing, those video ads are doing a lot better. Now, those won't run in every placement because, for example, our ad is 18 seconds long, which is 3 seconds longer than it's allowed to be for in-stream videos. So it won't run in that placement, but Facebook's still going to allocate our budget to that specific ad rather than a different placement. and just kind of shift the budget around for us. So I usually recommend doing auto placement just to try to get as much exposure as you can, because Facebook will kind of help you out. But if you're creating ads that are specifically formatted for an Instagram story, then in that case, if you were just wanting to run it on that platform, that's when I start doing the manual placements.
I see. Now, let me also talk about call to action. I know a lot of people, I've talked to them, they say, you know what, all these things you are doing, but what's the call to action, right? So what's the best way to accomplish that?
I think the best way for a call to action is keep it simple. Like with advertising, I think we try to overcomplicate it too much. I like to think of it as getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time. If you can do those three things, that's a successful advertising campaign. Then we can talk about how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it. But if you just think of those three things and you do that, your call to action is just the next step of, okay, I got in front of someone and they're interested. They like what we do. They just want to know what to do next. What is the next step to take? So the call to action for what Beau and I are doing, it just says free webinar, register now. And then the button next to it says sign up. Really simple. If that's the only part of the ad that you read, you know exactly what's going on. You know what you need to do. You need to register for the webinar, and there's a button to do it. It doesn't need to be super complicated. It just needs to tell you what is the first step that I need to take as a consumer to get the ball rolling on this.
Love it. So this actually webinar could be evergreen webinar, right? That's the word I've heard a lot, where you just do it one, what should be the length of this webinar? I mean, when do people really lose their interest? What would you say to that? Yeah.
Honestly, that a lot of it goes back to, are you creating enough value and are you being engaging enough? If you're creating value and you're being engaging, people will stay involved. I saw someone do a live stream for 15 consecutive hours, and he had 700 viewers on it for the entire time because he just kept providing value.
Yeah.
So you could do it for 20 minutes, and after a minute, if you're really monotone, you're not really answering the questions that you promised that you were going to answer, people are going to fall off. Yeah. But if you're staying active, you have energy, you're answering questions, you're engaging with your audience, they'll be there. They'll stay on, and the people who really want to be there will be the ones that you have with you.
There's definitely a science to webinars, though. Like I did a webinar with this professional, like it was a professional webinar, and actually it was pretty interesting because they had somebody that like choreographed the whole thing, and they had specific things that they wanted to say at a certain time. They plugged it. It was an evergreen webinar, but they had a whole formula for doing it. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I know I have also Amy, I think comes to my mind. She's queen of webinars. I heard Amy, I don't know what her last name is, but the thing was that she gives webinars to how to do evergreen webinars. She teaches and she talks about where some people are interjecting and asking questions. So she positions in the recording where people are asking questions, and it looks like live, but it's not. But then it gives the feeling that, you're kind of interacting with people and so forth like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's a whole art within itself. I mean, I think if you take any little segment, you got Facebook ads, you have like social media where it's like content, like we're producing content right now, right? So I can use StreamYard. I could stream to a couple places, and then what I can do is then save this video and then turn it into a podcast, which I have for my podcast, right? So you have like multiple uses. So you can go back through your existing content and just cut it up, create intro videos that, hey, go watch the rest of it here. Have calls to action. So, I mean, there's just so much you can do. I think you got to really figure out what is the most effective for your industry specifically. And then we're not even talking about SEO yet, which is search engine optimization. I have a website in Indiana, which I don't do paid clicks, but I get a lead or two a week that people just find it and they say, I want to sell my house fast. And they fill out the form and I call them And I know that's a deal, because if you're filling out a form, you want to sell your house fast.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they want to sell, and they'll sell at a discount. But storyboarding is essentially what you have to do to like figure out your ads. I liked how Ethan has this little hub. He designs like what the ads look like, so you can see it before you run the ad and go, okay, this is what it's.
That.
Yeah, and it's actually a tool on Facebook, which I didn't know about, that's already there. But that's what you get, and then you can kind of see, and then I visualize, okay, that's a great looking ad. It's very simple. It's people. I'm interested. I'd click on it if I was interested in multifamily loans, right? Like,
that's amazing, Ethan. I have to bring you back again. It's 45 minutes and we have not even touched. I mean, it's been exciting to really get to know you and your bundle of knowledge. I think this is very, very constructive, because that's what we are giving to our audience, are the tools to really get their business to the next level. We do loans. I mean, Beau does loans. I do investments in apartments, hotels, and senior living now. I have educational academy. I teach also. But the key thing is that everybody needs what you're talking about, the advertising, the, branding, and the websites and the squeeze pages, and, the click ads and pixels. I learned that. I thought I read about it or heard about it before. It just makes sense to me. So we'd love to have you come back, and we'll dig deeper into it. Beau, some other questions, but yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, we could go on forever. I think I just wanted today, I mean, we're already coming up to our hour mark, but I think today was just more of like, hey, in the future, we should be talking about, we should actually have, a session like, this is how to run a Facebook ad. Or,
that'd be amazing. That'll be terrific. Yeah. Ethan, if you're up to it, buddy, because you can share your PowerPoint, your desktop, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be terrific. I think we can change the world by giving them knowledge and educate them. And I think lots and lots of people, will feel good about it, and they'll understand more. When people understand more, they like to use those services more. And sometimes we don't even know that these things exist, And I hope today's broadcast has helped a lot of people, a lot of business people.
Thanks for listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. For show notes and useful resources, please visit investorfinancingpodcast.com. For questions or comments, email info@investorfinancingpodcast.com. If you enjoy our show, please share it with your network. Until next time.